Okay, good morning and welcome back to the channel. Again, off the top, I want to say that I've been away for a week, so it's nice to be back on the channel, and I'm pretty sure everyone watching will know that I've been on Sky Sports, and thank you to everyone watching these videos because that's why I was there. And if you do enjoy, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, of course. And we're going to kick it off this week with a piece on Jeremy Jacquet, and this is a player who I've spent a lot of time watching. Patrick's also spent a lot of time watching because it did feel like a move that sort of come out of the blue. Deadline day wrapped up. He's obviously coming in June in 2026, and he will finish the season back at Rennes. And they've signed him for £60 million. Now, straight off the top, I want to ask you, before we get excited, because I think this is a player Liverpool fans should be excited about, what have you made in your research of this centre-half?
Yeah, listen, I think, like you touched on there, he's definitely somebody that is going to excite a lot of fans. A lot of work obviously has been carried out on him. I think straight away when you see him in the flesh, physically he's going to catch the eye. He's super athletic, he's super agile, he's very front foot, very aggressive, fits a lot of the requirements for a modern Premier League defender. Can defend big spaces, defend 1v1, and also handle the ball really well.
Yeah. So this is a player who's 188 centimetres as per Y-Scout, which is 6'2". Now, I don't believe that for a second. I think this player looks about 6'4". His legs are absolutely massive, and because of this, he has the highest aerial win rate in Ligue 1, and between him and Konate and Virgil van Dijk, he has the second best win rate out of both of them. He's like 2% behind Virgil van Dijk, and we all know how good he is in the air. Now, this is a player who, for me, when I've watched him, I think he's a little bit of a freak, a little bit of a monster in terms of his profile. I think when you look at him, you think that he's still 20 years old, and as we'll go on to speak about, he's really only played half a season in Ligue 1 with Ron, and he's played, I think, 20 league games, we said before, but he's started every single one of them. And for me, there is a massive caveat and a massive grey area, which is probably one of the only grey areas for me on this, which is the level he's played at in terms of the direct opposition. So we're talking about, there's grey areas in terms of he's not played in Europe yet. We've not seen him against Premier League opposition yet. He's still very young. He's still very inexperienced. But he looks like a veteran centre-half on the pitch. His standout attribute to press against the number 9, to drop off, his footwork, as Patrick was saying, retrieving 1v1. He's extremely fast when he's covering depth, so if he's running through the pitch to chase longer balls. His channel defending's really good. He has mostly played at either right centre-half or middle centre-half in a back three for Ron. And he is one of them players who likes to step in with the ball, especially in a back three, which obviously we'll go on to talk about whether or not Liverpool will change next season. But he's a very aggressive centre-half, likes to carry the ball forward, likes to step in with the ball. I've got a few graphics to throw up on your screen for his progressive carries map, and you can see how many dribbles he's taking through the middle of the park, and he's very confident, and he oozes a lot of confidence on the ball when it comes to dribbling. And yeah, I wanted to ask you mainly about his technical quality for a man of his size. I know you've got a good quote on his inspirations and stuff like that, but how impressive is he for his stature on the ball?
Yeah, well, I think straight away when you look at him, obviously for somebody of his size, he's very long-legged as well. So sometimes with that, players can struggle a little bit with coordination, particularly in smaller spaces, playing under pressure. But what I think he does really well is he's able to handle the ball in these moments. He's got lovely quality. He's got real arrogance in a good way. I think he receives the ball, particularly in that back three. It suits him really well when they build because he's able to step through, like you say, but also receive beyond the opposition front line as well. So almost play the give and go. He obviously looked up to a lot, I think, Paul Pogba as a kid. He played in midfield a lot, I think, growing up too. So when he does receive the ball in those almost 6 positions or double pivot positions, he's more than comfortable then with his awareness, with understanding where pressure arrives from. So I think he's somebody you'll probably see as well as he sort of settles in at Liverpool, is he has the ability not just to break lines and step in, but he also hits those trademark switches into the wing backs. And I think it surprised me just through kind of his age really, and his lack of real experience, that he's able to do that with such quality and assurance.
Yeah, I think technically on the ball, He's brilliant. He's a brilliant passer of the football, but I think, like Patrick was saying, it's more that footwork in the tight spaces. He's even got an assist I seen for Clement Foot, which he's somehow, I think it's like a second phase set piece, and he's in the top right of the box, and he just shimmies past the defender and puts like a nice ball into the box. And I think that encapsulates how good he is in terms of technically on the ball. I think he's carrying, he's footwork in tight spaces. Obviously, he's going to be joining a Premier League where not everyone, but a lot of teams press full throttle, man-to-man across the park. And he's going to be one of them players who, in my opinion, could be one of them who's unpressable. And obviously, very young, very inexperienced. And again, we come back to that because we don't want to build him up to knock him down. But his technical quality in small spaces, like you said there, he does feel a bit like a midfielder. And you wouldn't even be surprised if you watched the game based on his quality and you know, thought of him as a midfielder. I've got a lot of things to say about his duelling quality, because I think on ball he's brilliant, but if he does play middle centre-half, a lot of centre-halves do look comfortable in a back three in the middle because of the options available. Them trademark switches are a massive plus for me, like you were saying. Virgil van Dijk's obviously got it a lot, and he may not play there if Liverpool do switch to a back three, if Virgil van Dijk's still at the club. But these switches, these diagonals, he slices the ball, he cuts through the ball. He's not a lot of loft on the switches. He's very flat balls, very straight arrowed, not loads of pace on him, not these, you know, really lofted, takes a long time to come down balls. It's very, very, very sharp passing. But for me, the standout quality is his duelling. This is where, for when you think of a modern centre-half, you think of players who, they can play on the ball, but defensively, 1v1 all over the pitch when it comes to contact. How good is he in duels?
I think I read a good quote as well, I think from his under-19s manager, saying that he had a spell out injured as a kid due to his growth spurt, I think 10 centimetres in a year, something crazy. And then he came back and he said he wanted to eat everybody. That was the quote. So I think that really is an indication of how aggressive he is. He's so front foot. I think what really kind of caught my eye was how aggressive he is. Like, he wants to win everything, passes into feet, he'll apply pressure. He's very capable as well of leaning on players, even the more physical players. Like, he can interfere with them. If a ball gets played down the side in a foot race, he's able to impose himself physically. And I think that lends itself so well to an elite Premier League side who will get exposed to having to defend high lines or defending 1v1. So I think that is, like you say, his ability to compete despite being 20 in those duels and dominate as well is a real plus. Yeah,
I think we were watching him. I'll just move the counters up as if he's playing 1v1 against a centre forward, because I really do want to hone in on just how good he is in terms of playing 1v1 against a centre forward. And me and Patrick, we have spent a lot of time on this. Like, this video has been planned for a long time, because he was linked to Chelsea and now he has obviously gone to Liverpool. But we have had a lot of time to research this player, and we've watched him against so many different centre forwards. We were speaking about a 1v1 battle he had with Giroud, who's obviously a player who's past his peak, yes, but has played in the Premier League, knows how to play up against different types of centre forwards. Watched him against Marseille, Lens, Lyon, Lille, who have all got very, very competent forwards. And we've seen him against them dribbly types of number nines, players who, when the ball is brought into feet, like to disconnect from the centre half, turn and then face. He defends against them players with a little bit more space between. So he gives himself a yard, but he has got good footwork. And he's not a player you can knock it past, but he's also a player who's got an extremely ridiculous tackling technique. He's almost got that Wan-Bissaka trait I keep saying to the lads in the office, as to be like, the long legs getting angles that you don't even think are there. Yeah. And he very rarely goes to ground, simply because of how fast he is, how physically dominant he is when it comes to contact, but also, as you were saying before, that footwork. Yeah. And can you just elaborate on sort of the different styles in his defending? Yeah,
well, I think like you touched on there, particularly in the one-on-one things, I think what he does well, which is usually something that comes with experience, is he gets his distances right. So in those more nimble, tricky type players, if he can't win it initially by applying pressure, he tends to get his body shape right, his distances right. And even if he necessarily can't win it, he then has the ability with his recovery pace, his big strides. Like you say, he has that tendency to be able to step across and get his body in the way, recover. I think there was a couple of really good clips against Monaco in the opening half where he may have gone a little bit early, but then was in absolute cruise control, recovering back, able to recover. So I think the thing that I think stands out in that element is sometimes with young defenders who have great physical attributes, they can be a little bit raw in their decision making.
Yeah.
Because they want to win everything. They think they can win everything. Their decision making becomes a bit erratic. And I think, listen, he's still young, he's not perfect, but I think that's something that caught my eye was a lot of the time in those moments he was exposed 1v1, he made the right decision and he trusted his athleticism to recover back in.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it before, but the leaning on players, it was something that I absolutely loved, especially on the long ball clips, because as teams do go man-to-man, a lot of the time the keeper does favour them longer balls into a more big number 9 or a natural number 9 who likes to get his arms out and battle. Jacquet is a little bit hard to beat in them situations. He does have he puts his elbow in the back, he can lean on players, as you were saying, a little bit like a heavyweight boxer, when they weigh him down and they grapple with each other, but he does it in very smart areas. If someone goes up for a ball and he notices that if he just gives him a little shove, it can drop behind him and then he recovers it. And he's protecting himself in them aerial duels, even though he's the best aerial win rate centre half. So it's just showing the variety he's got in his game, not only as a defender, and we've not even spoke about yet again his box defending, which you can imagine for a bloke who's 6'2", a very leggy player, very good aerials. He's a brilliant box defender. Yeah. He likes to go to ground in the box. He likes to throw himself at stuff. He's brilliant, and I think this could be one that in a few years' time they look back on and go, this is a very, very good piece of business, because for a player as young as he is and for inexperienced as he is, he does seem to carry himself with that assurance that he seems to have played the game for a lot longer than he has.
I think as well, a lot of people, when you look at signing young players, first and foremost, you might look at adversity. And I touched on the injury as well before. So I think that's maybe given him, it has obviously reading, speaking to people, that's given him a real hunger and an appetite to really maximise his career, even though I think it was a cartilage surgery he had to have is quite common in a lot of players. I think it's something that just being out a period of time, he's probably thought, right, this is a short career. Yeah. I need to maximise it. But like you said, I think going back to kind of his general game, I think defending the box as well, which he did really effectively, was sort of positioning. So positioning himself effectively. Yes, he makes big blocks and he puts his body on the line, but he wasn't erratic in going to ground or diving in. I think he was able to work his feet and make himself a real block just by the size of him as well. So really, I think he's a really interesting player. I think it's one that, listen, you can never predict. No. But I think people might look at the fee and say it's a high fee, but it's spread across the length of a long-term contract. The wages, I'm sure, will be sensible. I think it's something that he has resale value as well, of course, because he's young. So when you take all those things into account, yes, you're paying for potential, but it's somebody with a high ceiling from what I've seen. Yeah,
I think that's the main thing. We are talking about £60 million, and it does seem like a lot of money in the modern day, but it's really not, is it? For a player like this, who, in my opinion, could be one of the players in their position to be for the next 5-10 years one of the best and compete in them things. He will play for France. He will start for France probably in his career for a long time. I do think this is a player who, yes, it's a big sum of money, but if you're looking at Liverpool's centre-back situation, if you're looking at Ibrahima Konate, you're looking at, obviously, Leone, who's out injured at the moment, Virgil van Dijk's age, I think this is a player who definitely could replace Konate in the short term. I've actually got a graph on your screen right now, and I'm sure you may have seen this on Sky Sports because they've used it as well. But the most similar player to Jacquet on the Premier League central defender wheel chart, which is basically putting the stats side by side and mirroring them, is Konate. And this makes a lot of sense because Konate is a very dominant dueler, very good with clearances, blocks, but I think that Jacquet has a much higher potential in the terms of the ceiling on the ball, and I think that's where it comes in small spaces with footwork and pieces like that. So I think this is a player who could replace Konate next year if all goes well. I think Liverpool may sign another central defender to help, bring him through. But I think he could replace Konate in the short term, but then I also think this is a player who could replace Van Dijk in the longer term, because I think he's got attributes of both. Yeah. He even said to L'Equipe, I've got a quote here that I picked out from The Athletic, and he was asked in October what elite defenders does he look up to, and he said Konate and Van Dijk.
Yeah.
And he does feel like he has attributes of them both.
Yeah.
And he does feel like a little bit of a conjoined player who has the assurance like Van Dijk to play these longer switches, but then can also have the ability to dominate physically, dominate aerially, but also defend bigger spaces, large stride. But then he has got that almost crashing ability of Konate, which is a little bit more front-footed and aggressive and French-like front-footed defending. So I think this is definitely a player who, in the next 4 years, will play in multiple different positions. I'll go on in the final bit to speak on about tactical usage and what Liverpool will do going forward. But yeah, he's a very good player to eventually success both of the centre-halves.
Yeah, and I think you touched on it well, and I think also with that, he's going to learn off whether Konate's there in the summer or not, but I think he's going to learn off high-calibre defenders and train against high-calibre forwards. So I think a lot of that will also help with his development. If he's spoken in glowing terms about these individuals, you can see there's elements, like you say, of their game in his. So I think his versatility, it may be that because he's obviously played in midfield in the past, he may get opportunities initially where they go, you know what, we'll play you as a centre-back but feel the freedom to play as a double six or as a six, or because he's clearly got that Paul Pogba type quality, which he talks about. People will see in the way he moves, he's leggy, he's rangy, like he's got the capacity to receive it in deep and step through a line. So be really interesting.
If you're enjoying the video and want more tactical analysis and podcasts, please press the subscribe button below and hit the bell to enable post notifications. Yeah, I wanted to throw this on into the final section, which is obviously asking about what Liverpool may or may not do going forward. Now, obviously, Jacquet has played the majority of his career in a back three, well, majority of his short career in a back three. But he did play, I remember watching him for Clermont Foot in Ligue 2, which was, he did play as a left centre-half in a 4. Now, I don't think this is a player who will be like, he won't be a success or a flop, depending if he plays in a 4 or a 3. But it's definitely something to factor in, that it's a very different situation to play in a 4 than a 3. And I know I will go on to speak about what Liverpool could do, but obviously the centre-back pickings are very slim at the moment. So yes, maybe if they get another in the door, don't know what happens with Konate, but Leone comes back. Obviously don't know what's happening with Joe Gomez. Whether or not they can play 3 central defenders, but that would obviously mean that if Virgil van Dijk is to stay in the summer, which I'm guessing he will most likely play in the middle. Bit older, bit less physically at his peak, at his best. But Jacquet has obviously played as the wide centre-halves. What would you make of him in a 3-back in comparison to a 4-back?
Yeah, I think obviously first and foremost straight away, if you're playing a back 5 or a back 3, whichever way you want to describe, he is able to be a lot more aggressive and be front foot, because naturally you have bodies either side of you. So if you don't get the engagement right, players around you can cover. So straight away that gives him confidence that he can go and say, right, if I don't win it, I don't win it. Whereas if you're in a back 4, naturally you don't have that level of coverage. So if he's in a back 4, for example, in a higher line, and he's playing against a nippy forward or inverted wingers, he will then maybe have to sort of measure that a little bit more and understand when he can and when he can't. It may be that appetite and that desire to win everything he has to curb slightly and understand sort of that element. So that's kind of off the ball. I think in terms of on the ball building, I think obviously we've spoken about the fact he can play, or he has played predominantly centrally. He is definitely one that can put his foot on the ball, literally entice a press, then pick a pass, or he can, I think he's even taken goal kicks, strangely. I don't know if that's an injury for the keeper or but I think he's even played short and joined in. So the building phase in a back 5, I think he's comfortable with, whether he plays central or sort of either side. The only issue he may have, if you're being really picky, is just complacency. I think the only elements I've seen in his game so far where he has maybe turned the ball over has just been a little bit of, he's got another gear, a little bit of arrogance and a little bit of just maybe not checked his shoulder sharply enough and been dispossessed. So I think that's the element in the back 5. I think in a 4, obviously, he's got to be maybe a little bit more measured. He's clearly got the athletic and physical qualities to defend 1v1, to defend without cover either side of him. So he doesn't need bodies to provide that physicality. Building will be slightly different naturally, and obviously that will depend on how Liverpool's set up. But they're, for me, the key sort of elements that he has to obviously think about and the club will think about moving into next season. Yeah,
I think it would be really rough, in particular, if they did go maybe to, like, obviously if they stayed with a 4-3-3, let's say. I think I've just butchered that, but it'll do. If they do stay in a 4-3-3, I'm looking at the profile of the fullbacks and how aggressive the fullbacks can be, especially with the wingers and stuff in join. I think if you get in a situation where, let's say he's playing right centre-half and Van Dijk's left centre-half, this situation against some of the wingers we know in the Premier League is really chucking him in the deep end. Yeah. And there was a few of these moments, and Ligue 1 is a very good league to cross-reference in terms of going up against dribblers. The best dribblers in Ligue 1, season on season, always go on to have brilliant careers. Yeah. It's a running theme. They are brilliant players and they produce some of the best dribblers. Cherky, for example. And then this would be throwing him into the deep end massively. So I think, personally, to see the best out of him, I'm talking off the ball, on the ball, I think you maybe should go to a 3 straight away. But I do think the centre-back options are a bit slim. But I think you were saying then, giving him a little bit more of the freedom to step in with and without the ball. I think if you played a 4 and he gets pinned back a little bit too much, yes, he will defend well. And he can defend well, but I really love him when he steps in and he goes through players and he collides and wins the ball high. He's such a good player when it comes to turning over the ball and winning the ball back for his team. But then I also think giving him the angles, I watched him play left centre-half in the 3 as well a couple of times, and he doesn't really seem to be fazed by the angles where he plays, left or right.
Well, I think a lot of that as well will come down to relationships as well. So the full-back or wing-back, whichever shape the club decide to play his fellow centre-back or centre-backs, they'll have to understand how he plays as well. So it'll only take a short period of time where they'll go, right, okay, he's going to get super tight most of the time. The ball may go in behind, we need to cover, or he's okay defending. Because I think you spoke about, there's a lot of these balls that got spun down the sides. It may not be ideal for him in terms of moving to the Premier League, but he's got the quality to do it. He's got the physicality to do it. It's maybe more, I get your point in the sense of, you can get more of his qualities out as a centre, like a centre of a 3. But I think there's plenty of examples we've spoken about. These are the ones where he gets in foot races, steps across, and then he can play. He's not just putting it into row Z. So, listen, I think it probably sounds incredibly positive, and I think it's one where we can only go, and I can only go off what I've seen. You can never obviously predict success because there's a massive human element, a cultural element. Stepping into a new environment with bigger players, bigger expectations. But I think from what I've seen, and I'm sure from what you've seen as well, there's definitely going to be a lot of excitement when Liverpool fans sort of see what he's got and what he possesses. Yeah,
I think, to be honest, I'm a Manchester United fan. We were saying this upstairs, and like I was getting like worried when I was watching him. There's not many players I've watched and gone like, this is in my opinion, a brilliant player and a brilliant deal in terms of getting in there before, your Madrids and obviously Chelsea, Arsenal maybe. But yeah, I think this is a player who's just absolutely phenomenal. And when I'm talking about potentially weaknesses in channel defending, I'm probably grabbing at low-hanging fruit. I'm probably going for stuff that I'm thinking is just usually the concern. But I don't think this is an average Premier League young centre-half. No. This is one that I would be excited about, and I think a lot of Liverpool fans, there was a debate online whether or not this is a better deal than Marc Guéhi to Liverpool. Opinions are split maybe. I will probably say that this is a more exciting deal in terms of the potential. I think Marc Guéhi's a brilliant central defender. I think he's got a great calmness about him. He's got a great leadership. He's got a great game on and off the ball. I think he's a very good Premier League centre-half. And we can't predict the future, obviously, but I look at this player and I go, this could be on the Gabriel Saliba Van Dijk category eventually.
I think they're just different profiles. I think Guéhi is super solid, he's super experienced, he knows his strengths, knows his weaknesses. He's gone to Manchester City, he'll do very well, I'm sure. I just think they're different profiles. I think you then look at somebody we're discussing here who is somebody that may get fans off their feet in the manner of how he recovers. A ball's gone in behind, he looks massively second best. He recovers over a huge distance, or he might step in and hit a driven diag, or things that just catch the eye immediately and people might go, okay, that's different. He may make more mistakes because he's younger. He may make a few more errors because he's trying to learn the game a little bit more. But I think if he can have that consistency and reliability with his fitness and everything else, I do think he's somebody that has that potential to be one of the better, if not the best centre-backs of his generation in the coming years, for sure. Yeah, no, he's a brilliant player. Really jealous of the signing, to be honest, because he's a little bit of a needle mover at centre-back, and he's someone who's got a little bit more of a flashy skill set. I don't know what it is about centre-halves, but like
sometimes you get, I call them meat and potatoes centre-halves, the ones who just head and kick it.
Yeah.
But then you get these ones who are like, the called Rolls Royces, we know this, but like the ones who you just watch and you go, that's more than a defender. Like Van Dijk's the same, Saliba's the same, Gabriel's the same. Like they just do stuff that central defenders don't normally do. Yeah. And I watch him and I go the same way in terms of his confidence, his aura on the ball, his demeanour, his technical game, his off-ball game. I think he's a wicked player. So, well done, Liverpool. I think this is a great signing. Wish him all the best because he is a genuinely tremendous centre-half and could be something really special. So, thank you very, very much for watching. If you did enjoy, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to the Overlap Breakdown channel. And we'll be back next week for some more analysis. Thank you.